term souffle comes from a French word that translates to puff. This is a very appropriate name for this luxuriously light and flavorful dessert. Egg whites are the backbone of this technique as it causes it to have this airy texture. When the souffle bakes, the air in the egg foam expands, causing it to quickly rise like a cake. Toward the end of the baking process, the egg whites become firm. Because it's not as stable as a cake, this firmness is unfortunately temporary. As a result, it's a dish that must be served immediately. To make the souffles, start by working the flour and butter together to form a paste. This is called a beurre manier, which is the stable base of the souffle. When it's incorporated, set it aside. The beurre manier is a thickener that's used much like you would in a bechamel. It should form a pretty stiff paste. You want to make sure the flour is completely incorporated into the butter and vice versa. In a pot, add the sugar and milk over medium heat. Bring the liquid to a boil, stirring to dissolve the sugar. Put all the beurre manier in, whisk it gently, and then return it to the heat. Get rid of all the lumps and bring it back to a boil to thicken it completely. Once it bubbles in the middle, you know it has completely come back to a boil. It should be smooth and silky. And now it's bubbling in the middle. We can take it off the heat. Transfer it to a bowl. And then you can whisk in the yolks. You can add the yolks directly to the bowl, even though the mixture is very hot, but you need to do it very quickly or else the eggs will scramble. This mixture should also be nice and smooth and silky as well. Cover it with plastic and let it rest until it cools just to about room temperature. Now that the base is prepared, it's time to prep the individual dishes before adding the final egg whites. Take the butter and coat the insides of the dish. This coating should come up all the way to the top. Do the same with the sugar, ensuring the inside of the ramekin is thoroughly coated. Put the sugar in, and you're going to twist the ramekin around into the next ramekin, thus ensuring you'll put sugar on all parts of the inside of the ramekin. In a separate bowl, whip the egg whites until they form soft peaks. It's a good idea to wipe out your bowl with a towel with vinegar on it to ensure that the peaks come to their full height. Don't add the sugar until the egg whites are completely foamy, and then only put a little bit in at the beginning. Continue to whisk. You'll start to see the consistency of the meringue change. It'll get a little shinier too. Almost there. There we go. See how the peak is just barely falling off the edge of the whisk. Now that you have the sugar and whipped egg whites, gently fold it in the rest of the souffle base. It's a good idea to stir the base together again just to make sure that it's nice and smooth and hasn't formed a skin on it. Ensure that it's also not hot. Right now it's just slightly hot. Take about a third of the meringue and put it into your souffle base and fold gently. This means turning the spatula over on itself. Add the remaining meringue and continue to fold. This is the most critical part. It should be very gentle at this point, not to deflate the meringue. And now we want to fold until the meringue is completely incorporated into the base. That looks pretty good. You're going to fill this all the way to the top. When the molds are filled to the top, take an offset metal spatula and go back and forth a little bit to bring it right to the very edge of the ramekin. Bake until the souffle is puffed and the center moves only very slightly when the dish is shaken gently, about 20 to 25 minutes. Do not open the oven door during the first 20 minutes or they will collapse. Serve immediately as they will otherwise fall within about 10 minutes. There are so many varieties of soufflés to attempt after mastering this basic technique. The basis of souffle can be sweet or savory. Common varieties include chocolate, citruses like lemon and orange, coffee, cheese, and even praline. It can be served alone or nicely paired with ice cream for contrast. Baking a souffle is a very fragile process that may require some trial and error. Because it's impressive and can be so versatile in flavors, soufflés are a great skill for a pastry chef to have.